Hi everyone, my name is Aina Munira, and today in this video I'll be explaining to you the program factors of the content and its strategy, which is the potential assessment methods for each skills within the chapter. Enjoy. Cue the slides.
Oh hi, my name is Parvinda Kaur, and today the factor that I have chosen for the textbook evaluation is the content factor, and the strategy that I have chosen is modifying the textbook. Yeah, see you.
Hi, my name is Sakina Binti Azmi, and I will be justifying on the learner's factors, which is to further motivate the students' interest for our beloved country.
Is it recording? Hi, my name is Siti Nur Fatina binti Abdullah. I will be talking about pedagogical factors as well as the strategy of audio taping.
Good day everyone. The textbook that we have chosen to evaluate is Form 1 English textbook. The students that we are looking into are from Class 1 Neptune with intermediate level of proficiency. Ladies and gentlemen, a textbook is a part and parcel of curriculum implementation process. Therefore, evaluating a textbook to get the best of it is important. There are 5 factors in textbook evaluation. However, we have identified and analyzed 4 of it, which are the program factor, learner factor, content factor, as well as pedagogical factor, which you will witness in depth shortly. Thank you.
The first factor that we will be discussing is the program factor. The program factor touches on the organization of the learning settings and its assessment system used for the overall student education or learning and teaching settings. As a yardstick, the chapter will be compared to the aspect of standard-based English language curriculum to see if it follows successfully. The aspects are aims, objectives, focus, integration of the 21st century skills, higher order thinking skills or HOTS. For the aims, we can see that the chapter targets accordingly with standard-based English language curriculum to have the students obtain the confidence and the competency to communicate and interact with peers and native speakers, widen their knowledge and be courteous on the country's variety of cultures, and instill teamwork skills, creative and critical thinking skills to overcome challenges in the real-world situations. Coherently with the aims, the objectives of the chapter complements with it. Educators use these objectives to sync their lessons with the curriculum standard. Based on the curriculum, objectives that are present in the chapter are: pupils will be able to describe experience, events, dreams, hopes, and ambitions, and give reasons and explanation for opinions and plans, use appropriate languages to make calculated decisions in situations like to arise in real life, and use a range of learning tools, including the multimedia, to communicate in various modes. Similarly, the focus of the chapter constitutes the aspects of curriculum principles, curriculum organization, curriculum approach, and lesson organization. For curriculum principles, it focuses more on preparing the students for the real world and developing competent and confident communicators. For curriculum organization, the chapter is according to Stage 3 Lower Secondary in Phase 2 Consolidation. For curriculum approach, it emphasizes on modular approach as it integrates all language skills and elements of grammar and literature in action correspondingly to its domain and theme. Finally, for lesson organization, the time allocation it did not specify in the chapter. However, it is recommended to the teacher to finish the chapter within 3 weeks. Now, for the 21st century learning that is present in the chapter are learning skills, literary skills, and life skills. Meanwhile, for the pupils' profiles are patriotic, informed, communicator, thinker, principles, and team player. For the higher order thinking skills, we can see the aspects are application through the activities done, analysis as the student reads the text, evaluation through dialogues and during interactions, and finally creation during completing projects and literature in action. For the strategies, We can do through this assessment section of the chapter, specifically the school assessments. As we evaluate the single chapter, we found that an educator can evaluate students by using formative assessment. This is to ensure that the educator are able to enhance student learning quality and increase the effectiveness of teaching strategies. The educator assesses the students to see if they achieve the objectives using observations, projects, and exercises that are available in the chapter.
The following factor that we have chose for the textbook evaluation is the content factor. Content factor is basically one of the vital factors to be looked into as it plays a huge role in a textbook. As I analyze the content, I have encountered both the positive and negative side of the content. The positive part of it is that the content does highly suit the student's proficiency level, which is the intermediate. This is because I believe they could comprehend each activity accordingly. Besides that, the content in the chapter is wholly relevant to the students, as Malaysia and Malaysian students definitely would go hand in hand. Thus, it is obviously a plus point for them to learn the elements of English language through their country and themselves. Keeping in mind, in the Malaysian government school setting, there may be any international students to whom it may not set a high relevancy, but again, it could act as an advantage for them to get exposure about the country they are learning in. At the same time, I would also agree that the content is efficient with the integration of technology in it, whereby the QR code are generated and through it students may lead to podcasts that streamline the teaching and learning process. On the other hand, I have to state my point of view here that I somehow find out that the chapter in the textbook may distort the content. This is questionable because in the chapter 13, which is I Am Malaysian, the first content is on direction all over, which is seen as posing more emphasis on the importance of language learning, which is direction, instead of incorporating I Am Malaysian concept in here. One may argue that the direction is revolving on the famous historical places in Malaysia, but once again, my question is that by including historical places, does that totally shows the students on being Malaysian? It sounds more like I am a tourist. I would not deny that learning direction is important in the English language, but I highly recommend to not have it under this chapter, which is I Am Malaysian. Alright, coming to the strategy that I have designed when selecting and adapting the textbook for my students is modifying the textbook, whereby I would like to incorporate the adding and deleting concept by eliminating unnecessary content from the chapter, instead replacing it with something more referable and relevant to the chapter itself. From there, my students could stimulate relevant ideas from it. For instance, as direction is linked under the listening skill in this textbook, I would eliminate it at all. Instead, I would incorporate activities like listening to an audio-based activity, such as listening and skimming a patriotic song at a go, and then coming up with the following activity. This is as addition to the content. With this, I highly believe that students will have a holistic insight of this chapter as a meaningful content that they could relate it with. It's not that direction can't be integrated in this chapter, but according to my point of view, I would not encourage it anyway, as it repels with the concept of I Am Malaysian.
Did you enjoy the content factor? There is more to come. Now, I'll be explaining on the learner's factor. As you can see, motivation and confidence is important on the learner's factor. Why motivation and confidence? Keep on watching to satisfy your curiosity. Enjoy. When looking at the perspective from the learner's factor, there are two aspects which enhance motivation for the students and boosting their confidence levels when learning. Okay, let's move on to enhance the motivation to the students. When analyzing this chapter, the message that conveys is the history of Malaysia. Generally, the students tend to feel demotivated when it comes to learning history lesson. Hence, other approaches are needed to prevent the respective consequences. For example, students can be assigned by bringing foods from their ethnic background. From this, it can ensure the students to participate more during the lesson and increase their motivation to learn. Okay, moving on to boosting the students' confidence level when learning. Besides motivation, it can indirectly boost the students' confidence throughout the learning session conducted. This can be seen when the students participate during the lesson. They will involve more in class by working with their peers and conduct a presentation in front of the class. Therefore, learning a subject that the students are familiar with creates opportunities for them to participate and interact in class, subsequently boosting their confidence level. Last but not least, let's move on to the strategies. The strategy that I had brainstormed based on this chapter is extending tasks. When looking at the textbook page of 154 and 155, it has more elaborate details that happened on the Independence Day of Malaysia. Teachers can use this as their guide and extend on the possible tasks that still emphasize the message of these pages. For instance, students can conduct a presentation of role-playing activity where they need to act based on the retrieved information. From here, the students will have better understanding on the chapter by the extended tasks.
Teaching methods are considered as one of the main elements of the pedagogical factors. This is because if the teachers fail to use the right method in their lesson, the outcome of the lesson might not be able to be achieved. As we all know, there are a lot of teaching methods that are available. However, there is one significant method that I had analyzed that's suitable to be implemented in this chapter, which is project-based method. Project-based method is an approach that believes the students will acquire more understanding of the lesson by active exploration and solving problems. Based from this chapter, on the textbook page of 161, teachers can implement this method by dividing the students into few groups. The groups then need to find more information about Independence Day of Malaysia by using few techniques such as interviewing their parents, find suitable references in the library that relates to the Malaysian Independence Day. Then, groups of students come in front of the class and present their findings about the topic. From here, we can see that this approach emphasizes the role of the students as the active learners and engage more during the lesson conducted. Besides teaching methods, implementing suitable teaching materials also play a big role in the aspect of pedagogical factors. This is because even though teaching materials perceived only as the supporting elements, however, it can give a big impact if the teaching materials does not correlate with the lesson. Based on my analysis on this chapter, there is one teaching materials that the teachers can use. The respective teaching material is a documentary video from a YouTube platform called The Proclamation of Independence Ceremony, Kuala Lumpur, 1957, from British Pathy. Documentary videos are considered as the authentic materials. The reason that I believe authentic materials such as the mentioned documentary video above is suitable because the information from the textbook page of 155 has the same information with the video. Hence, students can relate the information from the video with the textbook page and adapting it to have better understanding of the chapter. The strategy that I had came up when analyzing this chapter in detailed manner is audio taping. When looking at the strategy of audio taping, there are a lot of activities that the teachers can actually conduct in their classroom that emphasize on the element of audio taping. When looking at the page of 160, one of the suggested activities is Say It Right activity. This activity focuses on listening skill and highlights on the stress syllables for each of the respective written words such as nations, independence, parade, and etc. I believe that this activity can be conducted in a great manner if the teachers use audio tapping strategy by recording their voice with the correct pronunciation when recording the respective words. By using this strategy, students will know on the exact pronunciation on the respective words. Plus, they can refer to the recorded audio as a guide for them to practice on the pronouncing the words in the correct manner. In a conclusion, teachers need to consider and take account on all those factors that we had mentioned previously when evaluating the chapter. This is because that all the respective factors play important roles when conducting the lesson. Teachers also need to bear in mind that textbooks only works as the supporting materials and references for their lesson and not as the main element of their teaching. By being too depending on the textbook will lead teachers to deliver the message of the textbook without looking from their students' perspectives. This is due to the reason where at the end of the lesson, teachers need to fulfill their students' needs as well as the ability of the students to retrieve the message of the lesson in order to achieve the outcome from their students.